Is that okay? Then it's not enough.
السماوات والأرض وجعل الظلمات والنور ثم الذين كفروا بربهم يعدلون الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله لقد جاءت رسل ربنا بالحق. Now, okay, class, this is class 4 of everyday Arabic. First class, we went through a very extensive introduction. And as I continuously say, everything that was said, most of it you're going to need as we go along. If you skip or miss anything, and we saw an example of that yesterday, who remembers? Someone missed? Remember? Yeah. What was it? Yeah, he forgot to say from, right? So there was something else too that happened with the young brother.
He didn't have, he couldn't give the definition of the law.
Nah, it wasn't there for the class, right? So all of this is a build-up. Everything that we take leads to the thing that comes after it. There's nothing in these lessons that's independent of what took place before it or what's going to take place after it, inshallah ta'ala. So I want everybody to be focused. This day is our day, and this will be our normal schedule. Monday, class review, and then our lesson. Tuesday, review, then our lesson. Wednesday, review, then our lesson. Thursday, review, then our lesson. Friday, a review of everything that we took. Friday, we won't take anything new. We're going to review everything that we took in those previous days. One of the most difficult things, I'm going to warn you now, anyone that's going to be serious about learning, one of the most difficult things to train yourself to do is to make review. It takes a hunger. That's the best way I can describe it. It takes a hunger to go over old information. That's how we consider it to be once we receive it. I know that already. And it takes intentional humility. You have to intentionally humble yourself and say, I need it. If I don't review it, I'm going to lose it. As I said, I think in class 2, I would rather read one book 10 times than to read 10 books. I would rather read one book 10 times than to read 10 books. So to constantly review is more important. You're going to notice that when you get to the Quran, hopefully, if you guys follow the advice I'm going to give you in these classes, hopefully you won't have to go through things that I went through and those who preceded me went through. And some people who were with studying at the same time, not necessarily with me, went through. And people who came after me went through. This is like a normal habit Normally when it comes to any type of knowledge and information in the Quran specifically, people's memorization splits into 3 divisions. People's ability. When I say memorization, I mean the person's ability to express what they've learned. Express what they learned. When a person says, I know it, but I don't know how to say it, you don't know. I don't accept it. I know, but I don't know how to say it. I know, but I really don't know how to express it. I know it, but no, it's not acceptable. A person that has information and knows it is able to disseminate it. Okay? So, normally, information that people have acquired are in 3 divisions. 3 divisions. Division number 1, that which is strongly memorized and the person is able to quote it verbatim. Number 2, that which is weakly memorized and the person stutters and stumbles and is barely able to quote it. And that which is new, person is learning at the time, right? And like that. This one in the middle has to go. One in the middle has to go. And I know you may listen to lectures where you're advised, keep going and don't worry about that. It'll get stronger later on. No, my advice, my own experience. If you get to a stage where you've acquired information and when you go to review, you are unable to quote it verbatim, stop. Don't acquire anything else. And begin making review. Begin making review until that number 2, that in the middle weak, that is weak, becomes strong, just like that which is before. So once all the information becomes on one level, then after that you begin learning new. So that the information that you have is either strong or new. Nothing weak, strong or new. That's all you want. You only want 2 categories concerning information you acquire. Okay? And I should have done this in the first class. Before we begin our review, we're going to go over something very important when it comes to religious knowledge, because some people, those who want to actually teach Arabic later on down the line, then I advise you to actually dedicate yourself to taking everything that we're taking down verbatim and review it just like that. And then disseminate it just the same way you received it, unless you see, without doubt, somewhere there's a mistake has been made, something has been left out or something's been added. Other than that, if you want to actually teach, those who are just going to use the Arabic language to learn religion, okay? Or let me stop in between that. Those also who are going to use what we're learning to simply be able to get around in an Arab land or something like that. Also, you're fine. You're fine. Still try to get it verbatim, but some things you may not necessarily need when it comes to just communicating and like that. Those who are going to use it for religious knowledge, then I have to warn you. And because we're a Muslim, the warning is valid for everyone. If you are going to use this language to study the Holy Quran, the authentic Sunnah, then be aware, O Muslims, be very aware that every field of knowledge has a trap door. Every field of knowledge has a trap door. I'm going to say it again. Every field of knowledge has a trap door. That trap door will lead you to ar-riya, showing off, or as-sum'ah, seeking to be known. Showing off and seeking to be known will lead you to tafakhur or takabbur, pride or arrogance. That pride and arrogance will lead you to batar al-haq. It will lead you to rejecting the truth. That batar al-haq, rejecting the truth, will lead you to ghamt al-nas, looking down on people. Every field of knowledge has a trap. If you don't learn it now, you'll go in and you'll begin seeking knowledge for you, for yourself. And the only thing you'll find at the end of the road is you. So we'll start from the first type of knowledge that we seek for those who are on the path of seeking the knowledge for religion. And the knowledge does not actually, it is not actually religious, even though all our religious texts are a part of this knowledge. And it's the language, the Arabic language. The Arabic language has a trapdoor. And there's no way around it. You have to learn it. And those who want to seek knowledge, every other science that we're going to mention, there's no way around it. You have to learn it. So it's not that, well, so I don't go in that trapdoor, I'm not going to study that. No, you have to study it anyway. It means that you have to face you. You have to deal with your issue. This is part of the human makeup. We want to be known. We want to be seen. So it has to be an inward, intentional inward struggle. فَلَا عَجَبَ. So it's not strange. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam called, أَخْوَفُ مَا أَخَافُ عَلَى أُمَّتِي الشِّرْكَ الْخَفِيِّ. So it's not strange that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, one of the things that I fear most upon my ummah is inconspicuous polytheism. Inconspicuous polytheism, inconspicuous shirk. Inconspicuous shirk, hidden shirk. The person's committing shirk, but it's hidden. And this shirk that the Prophet warned about is so hidden that the person that's committing it doesn't even know. And most of the time, if you point it out to him or her, they'll deny it. And then the Prophet gave an analogy. He gave an example. He said, الشرك الخفي كنملة سوداء على صخرة صماء في ليلة ظلماء. He said, inconspicuous shirk, كنملة سوداء, is like a black ant. It's like a black ant, no problem. على صخرة صماء, on a black boulder. Sakhra is a boulder. When people translate this as a rock. A black ant, now it's on a black boulder. We have a problem now. We have a problem now because it's black on black. We have a problem. It's like a black ant on a black boulder. The brothers are up here. So now, on a black boulder or a black rock, he said, "Fi laylatin walma," on a pitch black night. Find it for me. Find me a black ant on a black boulder in a pitch black night. Find it for me. Who's up for the challenge? This is how dangerous inconspicuous shirk is. So just like you would not be able to see with your two eyes, 20/20 vision, and something above that, even with that kind of vision, how would you have to look in order to find it? How would you have to search in order to find this ant? An ant, one of the smallest creations, on a boulder, which is big, on a black night. This is how Riyah and Sum'ah is. This is how showing off and seeking fame is. This is how hidden it is. You tell people they will argue with you. People that's going on Hajj and Umrah, and they're making tawaf, and they're doing selfies of tawaf. Tawaf is an act of worship. People that are getting down on their hands and knees on prayer rugs just to take a picture. They're not even making dua. They could actually be making dua. They're not doing it. They're just doing it as a pose. They use acts of worship to strike a pose. So every field of knowledge has a trapdoor that leads to that. So trapdoor number one, concerning the Arabic language. Al-fasaha wal-balagha. The Arabic language, the trapdoor of the Arabic language is al-fasaha wal-balagha, which is, how can it be translated? Which is eloquence and diction. A person can become a show-off through their eloquence and diction in the Arabic language. To the point, how will the person find out? The person who's fallen into it has to find out. It's not important that other people know that you fall. It's important that you know you fall into this. Eloquence and diction is when it gets to the point where the individual, let's say they're teaching Arabic. Because remember, we're talking about learning and disseminating knowledge. It's when they get to the point that when they teach, the students only leave class with knowledge of how good he is. That's what they get. A week, 2 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, a year, and the students are just coming out shaking their head, man, this Arabic is good. MashaAllah, it's Arabic. But they themselves haven't grown. If the teacher's eloquence and diction is so good, then it should be transferred over to the student. And then the student should come out and the people should be able to say, wow, I know who he studied with. He sounds just like. That's when it's transferable. Because it's a gift, but it can be a curse. But it gets further and further away from being a curse when it's distributed. Why? Who can think of an answer why? Why does it become further and further away from being a curse when it's distributed? Anyone?
Maybe the knowledge is not being authentic when it's being distributed. And they correct.
No, I'm talking about authentic knowledge. That's distributed. The more it's distributed, the more people carry it, the further it gets away from being a curse on the original carrier. Why?
We're acting out what you're learning. We distribute it for everyday life.
Okay, that's one reason. So it's a main reason I'm looking. It becomes less of a curse. Why? Because you or the teacher is no longer the only one with it, so it's not special anymore. It's not special anymore. Why? You gave it to somebody else. Somebody else has it now. This is an 80. The more the teacher distributes and distributes and distributes, and there's more people like him, he comes from out of that zone of uniqueness that makes him feel the arrogance that's above everyone else. This is why it's important to just give it away. Give it away. Why? So that one day somebody can say that somebody's just like him, or, oh, he surpassed his teacher. Because some students even surpass their teachers. Imam al-Bukhari surpassed his teachers. So when that happens and there becomes duplicates of this individual, that can, number one, it becomes a barakah, becomes a blessing. Why? Because now we have not one person with, let's say, 10, 15, 25 students in front of him teaching. Now that he has a duplicate of him that can be dispersed somewhere else to have that same class with different people in another region that couldn't make it there. So now the knowledge is spreading further. Now, if this one person has 5, and he gives those 5 exactly what he has, exactly what he has. So they become duplicates of him in the dissemination of that information, whatever their style is, but they are of his level. Then what happens? Then they can go teach 5. So now he produced 5 that can teach 5. each of those 5 produce 5 that can teach 5, then it becomes normal. Then it becomes normal. See, we want to get to a point where being knowledgeable, there were points like that in different regions in the Muslim world and during different time periods, where there were so many scholars that being knowledgeable was normal and being ignorant was strange. Being ignorant was something strange. You know how many people studied and that and memorized it? Like it's just normal to know. It's normal to know. It's normal to have information. We want to get to that. Like today, when it comes to technology, it's normal for someone to know how to use a smartphone, and click this, push, send that, and if somebody doesn't know how to know, it's at least a little giggle like, okay, let me see, I'll help you, because it's normal for everybody to know. This information is normal. We want the knowledge of our deen to become normal. So the trapdoor of number 1 of Arabic is al-fasaha wal-balagha, is diction and eloquence. Diction and eloquence. So be careful. Be careful. Number 2, after learning the Arabic language, in the sciences comes the Quran. The Quran. Now, so I don't think we're going. No, we're. Okay. Number 2 is the Quran. When it comes to learning and memorizing the Quran, there are many trapdoors, but there's one main trapdoor. One main trapdoor. That trapdoor is Jamal al-Sawt. Jamal al-Sawt, to have a beautiful voice. That's the trapdoor of the Quran. To the point the person becomes like a singer in the community. And as our Shaykh, Jaza' al-Suwaydah, Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he said what? He said, the reciters of the Quran are 2 types. Pay attention. The reciters of the Quran are 2 types. The first type is the one that uses his or her voice to call the people to the words of Allah in the Quran. The one that uses his or her voice to call the people to the words of Allah in the Quran. This is the first comment. So their voice is a tool to remind the people about Allah Ta'ala and what he sent them. Number 2 is the one that uses the Quran to call the people and bring attention to the beauty of his or her voice. Number 2 is the one that uses his voice, his or her voice, to, that uses the Quran to call the people to the attention of the beauty of his or her voice. Right? And then the Sheikh said, and you will know which one. He said, number 1, he said, and the reciter is the one that perpetuates the reaction. The one that instigates the reaction by what they do with their voice. The same way in music, the singer is responsible by using their voice to make you happy or make you sad. Make you excited or other than that. This is the power of a voice. To the point that there was a companion during the time of the Prophet ﷺ who had a beautiful voice and used to recite poetry. And it used to affect the women of that time. And the Prophet said to him, be easy on these fragile vessels. The heart. Right? So he said, be easy on the fragile vessels. Don't sing like that, you're affecting the women. So this is how serious the voice is. People listen to music all the time, and either they're going to be affected by the sound of the instruments or the sound of the singer's voice. A person has nothing going wrong in his life. He listens to a sad song, and all of a sudden he's upset. And like that. So he said, you will know who you're listening to by your reaction after hearing the recitation. Those who are of the second class, which is the one who uses the Quran to call to his voice, the people come out after they hear it and say, wow, what a beautiful voice. You heard his voice, man, you heard. They have no idea what he was saying. All they know is the man's voice was good. What did he say? What sword? Was it something serious? Did he warn from the eyes of the fire? Was it the eyes of Jannah? Or were the eyes of halal and haram? Was the eye? Nobody knows. All they know is, mashallah, he can go, he can blow. And if the reciters of the first class, the people come out and say, man, did you hear the ayah when he was, no. The ayah that he was, when he reached, what did he recite? And they begin discussing the words he recited of the Quran. That's the difference. And voices, brothers and sisters, are like faces. Voices are like faces. A person is not responsible for their face. People are going to consider your face beautiful. People are going to consider it okay. People may not like your face. The same thing. This is from the qada of Allah, the decree that can't be changed. Voices are like faces. Okay? The main thing is that the recitation is correct. Just like when it comes to the way a person looks, the main thing is their behavior, their attitude, their personality. It's more important than the way they look. It's more important than the way they look. Now, so likewise with recitation, to recite the Quran correctly and properly to the point you remind the people about the words of Allah when you recite, this is what you do. Okay? Next is hadith. You have the Quran and Sunnah, Arabic, and this is how you're supposed to study. Arabic and Sunnah. That's how you study Islam. You start with the Arabic language, go as far as you can, you continue refreshing, and then you go to the Quran and you memorize the whole Quran. Do not take advice from underachievers. And I'm sorry I have to say it that. No, I'm not sorry, actually. Do not take advice from underachievers. Those who always push you towards the minimum. They're in your way. Get away from underachievers. I mean, all the campaigns, people that will tell you, will say, you know what? That's it, I'm going to memorize the Quran. They say to you, all the campaigns didn't even memorize the Quran. It's not even obligatory, but they start telling you things, this is an underachiever talk. Listen to underachiever. They will tell you that about money. If you say, you know what, I'm trying to get me $1 million in a year. They can say, all the campaigns didn't have $1 million. They're going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you that. When it comes to the dunya, you're going to get encouraged. When it comes to the deen, you get discouraged. And the dunya is going quickly. Al-Hadith. The knowledge of Hadith takes a strong memory. Takes a strong memory. So, one thing that the scholars of the Hadith, past and present, were known is quwwat al-dhakara, the strength of their ability to memorize. However, the intention behind the science of Hadith is to carry the legacy of the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in his statements, in his actions, in his behavior, in his belief, in his worship, in his transactions, in everything connected to him that is wanted by it to worship Allah, that we want to use it to worship Allah. That which is just in his everyday life, no. But that which is intended by it to preserve it in order for us to worship Allah the way he worshiped Allah, that's the point of the science of Hadith. So the trapdoor in the science of Hadith comes in a person wanting to display the strength of their memory. Now my memory is on display. People do it with computers. No, I got a 1 terabyte hard drive. This my hard drive. No, my RAM, They compare systems. So people fall into this in learning deen. They're comparing their hard drive. I've memorized such and such and such and such and such. Oh no, well, I've memorized, and they go on and on and on, bragging about their hard drive. That's the trapdoor of the science. Last but not least, and there are other sciences, but all of those sciences are what? They are basically connected to one of the sciences that were already mentioned. The last science is the science of fiqh, jurisprudence, the fiqh. Fiqh is a science of comprehension, analyzation, deduction, problem solving, conflict resolution. That's what fiqh is about. So it takes a high level of intelligence. A faqih is someone who's very intelligent that can look into the text of the Quran and Sunnah, look at incidents from the past and compare them to incidents of recent time, and then comprehend what came in the Quran and Sunnah, what took place during the time of the Prophet, or those generations, those first generations. And then after that, he can analyze that. And then he can deduce from the text and from those incidents and produce a solution today that reflects exactly what would have been done had that incident happened during that time. It takes intelligence. However, the point of fiqh is in order to make the commands and prohibitions of Allah easy to understand and implement for the Muslims at every time and place. That's what the point of fiqh is. However, a person may get caught up and simply display their level of intelligence. All people come out from is that guy's sharp. I would have never thought of that. But they themselves do not acquire the tools in which they can say, oh, I see what the Ustaz are talking about. When you apply this principle with that foundation, and then you look at this ayah, you come up with that. I'm going to run it across them and see if that's correct. And you run it across, like, yes, now you know what you do. Every other science is connected to those. So be careful of those trapdoors when you go into delve into the science. Those trapdoors are there. You don't pay attention, a black ant on a black rock, a black knight. Now, okay, so we're going to proceed. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Our first class, we took 8 important subjects. We took 8 important subjects. Who's want to tell us what subject number 1 was? Mikhail.
How do we assess the value of a thing?
How do we assess the value of a thing? Please take this as a life skill. Assessing the value of a thing with what we mentioned in class, take that as a life skill. Everything you want to do with people, places, and things, you're going to use this method of assessment to decide the value of this thing to you. And what was said? How do we assess the value of a thing? Okay.
The ease.
Yes, the ease. Or.
Difficulty to replace a. That's why
That's it. No, that's the answer. The ease or difficulty in replacing the thing lets us know the value of it. The easier it is to replace a thing, the less value it has. The more difficult it is to replace a thing, the more value it has. It's just that simple. This is a very general measuring stick. We don't want to use anything specific. How do we do this, or people, or items, or objects? No. If you can replace it easily, it's not going to be worth much. The more difficult it is to produce it again or to replace it, then the more valuable it becomes. Now, that's the first thing. Next subject.
Communication is a 5.
Now, the way humans communicate We said human beings communicate in 5 ways.
Gestures.
The first one was gestures. You're going to find anywhere you go in the world, they have gestures that are specific to that region. Some gestures are universal. Some gestures are universal that you see everywhere. This motion means the same thing. He's answering. This motion means the same thing everywhere. Other than that, like everywhere you go in the world, what does that mean? Stop. Anywhere you go, if somebody does like that, it means everywhere you go somewhere, somebody does like that, and that means come in. Don't say, okay, they're like that, person just playing hard to get. No, that means stop. Get away. Okay.
Signs.
Signs. And signs, we have many.
Sounds.
Yeah, each person want to answer one. So, mashallah, but you answer from memory. Mashallah. That's good. Mashallah. So we had signs. Signs. Stop signs. Yield signs. And everything that is used and it's called a sign. A sign.
Symbols.
Symbols. Symbols, that covers so much when you come to symbols. When you have in mathematical equations, like the symbol that's used to add, the symbol that's used to subtract, the symbol that's used to divide, multiply. Other than that, that shows percentages, and other than that, these are all symbols that are used to express mathematical conversions.
Shapes.
Shapes. We spoke about that before. Shapes, octagon, hexagon, circle, square, rectangle, that are used in building architecture and things like that to express dimension. It's used to express dimension. Now,
And sound.
and sounds, and we spoke about sounds. Those sounds could be words or not words, but the point is that when the sound is made, there's an expression understood from it that those who hear that sound understand that expression, like meaning no, meaning yeah, I don't know, and all of those things like that. Those things. Now, what's the next subject? What is a language? What is a language is the next subject. Sis, don't be afraid to answer. What is a language? So we said, what is a language? That was the next subject. So what is a language?
Group of gestures, sound, symbols, something that very and really used by a group of wants and needs.
A group of people to express their wants and needs. Now, so this is what a symbol is. I'm sorry, what a language is. A language is a group of those 5 things that preceded. What did we say? Gestures, sounds, symbols, shapes, and signs that are used by a group of people. And the point that I made in that definition by saying used by a group of people, because every group of people, all of those things are not the same with every group of people. Okay? In some West African, I can't even do the expression. Some West African countries, it's like a breathing. I don't know. You know it? You know it? No, yeah. In West Africa. So in West Africa, they have an expression where it's like they breathe in really quickly to express surprise. Not that one. Not like that's Western. That's American. But they go, I can't go. Anyway, that something like that. Not exactly something like that. Nah. So these sounds, I never knew about that here. But well, I was in Azhar University in Egypt, and there were brothers there from West Africa, all parts of the world. But the brothers from West Africa, especially when you tell them something, you know, so-and-so got kicked out of school, that make a certain breathe in really quickly like that. So I was like, oh, that's different. Now, so each group of people have their own, you know, either some of them are the same or none of them are the same. But each group of people have this, and this is their language. This is their language for each group of people. And each language should have, you know, outside of the Arabic language has its level of respect. The most respected Arabic language should be the Arabic language because it leads to understanding the book of Allah. There's no language above the Arabic language. And Allah chose the Arabic language for the last revelation being sent to mankind. Now, okay, what is the language with the next one? What is the next thing we took?
3 types of language.
Huh?
Three types.
Three types of languages.
Spoken and not written.
Spoken and not written. Said that languages fall into three main categories. This is what's meant when I say three types of language, in case I didn't say it last time. Languages fall into three main categories.
Spoken but not written.
Spoken but not written. And we gave examples of that, like Wolof. In the Sudan, we said what? Rothana, Mandinga, and other languages like that, in which those languages are what? They're spoken, but they're not written. Some people say, one student said to me one time, no, Mandinga is written. I said, how? And began using English letters. I said, no, a language is not considered a written language until it has its own alphabet. A language is not considered a written language until it has its own alphabet. Once a language has its own alphabet, then it's considered a written language. It's considered a written language. Now,
written but not spoken.
Written but not spoken. We gave examples like hieroglyphic, Egyptian writing, Latin, which used to be a spoken and written language, but is not anymore. As a matter of fact, I remember we were being taught Latin in junior high school years and 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 years ago. And when we were being taught Latin, my mother put up a big fuss and came up to the school. Why are you teaching our children a dead language? Who speaks that? My son is coming home talking about Romeo Escocus. What is he going to do with that? He can't be a translator. He can't write a book in it. He can't. He was really upset, right? But a lot of that language is still medical terminology. Medical terminology. So, but Latin has become a language that is written but not spoken. That's what's inside your medicine. All of those names you can't pronounce. Normally, that's from Latin. Now, okay. And the third one.
Spoken and written.
Spoken and written. We said like English, Arabic, Spanish, French, so forth and so on. So these are the languages that are spoken and written. A point that I did not mention last time about languages which are spoken and written, which is very important, is what? That history is recorded in those languages. History is recorded in those languages. So we have sometimes the thing that we mention, we say that the colonizers changed history. Colonizers, those invaders that children are forced in school to call them explorers. The colonizers, they wrote history because they had a language that was spoken and written. So a lot of history did not have to be changed because in other cultures, especially in those lands which were invaded, history was recorded by the people who witnessed it. And you would have a person in the community, and I forget what they're called, who would know the history of their particular region and what happened and who invaded and who got married, who got divorced, who got killed, who fought, who traveled, and like that. This is where the statement comes from. When an old person dies, a library burns down. That's where that statement comes from. Those people will be walking libraries, walking history. They knew what happened. They were witnesses, or they heard it from the witnesses, and they retained it. This is the importance of our elders. This is why the Prophet ﷺ said, "Laysa minna." He is not from us. "Man la yuwaqqir kibarana." The one who does not respect our elders is not from us. The one who does not respect our elders is not from us. "Laysa minna man la yuwaqqir kibarana." Who doesn't respect our elders is not from us. Now, okay, so this is how it used to be. So when those colonizers came, that was one of the advantages they had. It's sort of like, I like to give the analogy of, it's sort of like a person driving down the street and a car comes and crashes into him from behind. He gets out. "What is wrong with you? You didn't see me here? How did you hit me?" Whoa. The whole argument. And then what happens? The driver that hits him says, "You know what? I apologize. I didn't mean to do it. I wasn't paying attention. I have insurance. I want to take care of everything. No need to get the police involved. You can take my number." And then the one who got hit believes it. "Okay, I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, because this is my only car. No, don't worry about it. I'll get it straightened out. My brother-in-law's a mechanic, and like I said, my insurance will cover everything. Don't worry about it." So the one who got hit trusts that and goes home. The one that hit him pulls off to the police and says, some guy just backed up. He told the story first. So now the plaintiff comes in as the what? As the defendant. So because the colonizers, they told the story first, what happens? We come in as the defendant. No, hold it. Exploring, it was an invasion. People were killed. People were kidnapped. No, that's not how it happened because they were sold, they were given to us, they came voluntarily. So now because they told the story first, we come as the defendant. Because the language was not written and spoken, it wasn't recorded. We can't say we have this book from 1473 and which was written by Anti-Diop, Suleiman, such and such. That's it. We don't have it. In the places that it took place, like Ghana, Gambia, Senegal, and these places like that, we don't have the written documentation. And they told the story first. So unless we can bring books written, recorded, from before the time they told the story, it becomes what? Their word against ours. His story, right? Correct. So that's what happens with languages that are spoken but not written and languages that are spoken and written. That's what happens. Now, next, what was the next subject? We talked about languages having families. Languages having families. Did you want to answer that? Did you want to answer that? Just to get everybody active. You're talking about characters of the left. No, we have something before that. Okay, languages of, you said languages of families. Do you have that? Languages of families.
You said before that,
is that before languages of families? Okay, so we're going to take languages of families. Go ahead.
Languages of families, meaning that like Arabic and Hebrew, they're similar, but they're not the same. But they have some letters that sound the same, but are written differently. So that's a part of the family, like Semitic language. Semitic language is a family of language.
Nah, languages of families. This is important. Why? Because if you enter into a family of languages, if you master one of the strongest family members, meaning the most used of that language, more than likely those other members of that language family will be easy. And I gave the example of learning Spanish, right? In that particular family, Spanish and Italian and English and French, or we would just say Spanish and Italian, those two family members right there specifically. Whoever learns Spanish fluently really knows 65 to 70% of Italian. That's the reality. Likewise, we have Arabic and Hebrew and like that. If you're learning one of them, you're going to have a portion of the other already learned, Urdu, Persian, and like that. That's another family of languages and like that. So families are languages are families, and they're very similar. And three things: either they're going to look alike, meaning the alphabet will look alike, or they'll sound alike, meaning the words that are used in the language and the alphabet will sound alike, or they will be both. They will sound and look alike, or they'll be one of the other. And this is how you know they're from the same family. Amor, in Spanish, right? My love. It's the same thing in Spanish and Italian. Same thing, like that. Ahad, the one in Hebrew and in Arabic. Now, like that. So languages are families. So know that if someone wants to delve deeply into languages, grab one of the strong family members, right? Get it down, perfect it, and then go to the next family member. You're going to find it easy. Kiswahili and Arabic, the same thing. 65 Kiswahili, which is a language spoken in really 14 different countries, but the main countries that's known for is Kenya, Tanzania, parts of Rwanda, Burundi, some parts of Uganda, and like that. So much of it is from Arabic. Even the name of the language itself Swahiliya. It comes from the Arabic word sahil, which means coast. So it's a coastal language. So the countries on the eastern coast of Africa, they speak this language. And the reason it has so much Arabic in it is because those Arab traders came, and they pulled their ships in on the coast to do business with the natives. And you're going to know it's a beautiful history about this. So they did their business with those on the coastal countries, with the natives there. So they went in as far as they could before, because they were Muslim before, they were pushed off by those natives that didn't want them there. So that's why you're going to find only the coastal countries speak it and not the inland countries speak it, right? They speak Kiswahili, but there's a lot of words like wakati. Wakati in Kiswahili means time. In Arabic, waqt is time. They say wakati, right? What else do they say? They say shukrani, meaning thank you, shukran in Arabic, which means thank you, like that. They say what in Arabic? They say in Kiswahili, they say habari yako. Habari yako means how are you doing? Ma akhbaruk. Out in Arabic slang, shakhbarak. What's your situation? What's going on with you? Yes. Now, bring me one, Michelle. So you'll see the similarities in each languages, and this is why. And let me tell you about languages. Those who are into language, they want to learn more languages. Language is a very important key in life, especially in the times we're living in. Language is important. Why? Language is a key. Language is a key. That key is not just to one door. Or no, I'm not going to say it's not just to one door. That key can open up as many doors that have been made to fit that key. The key wasn't made to fit the door. Rather, the door was made to fit the key. What do I mean by that? When you think about learning a language, don't think about how many people speak the language. Because if that's the case, then it would be the best language to learn would be Chinese. More people speak Chinese than any other language because they're the most population, biggest population. However, where can you speak Chinese outside of China? So that means that learning the Chinese language opens up one door. That's a massive door, honestly. For those who are in entrepreneurship, open up that door to China. That's a massive door to open. Bismillah. However, if you want to open up many doors, you look at how many places speak. How many places use this language? Meaning, if I learn this language fluently, I can go to how many places? You look at Arabic, for instance, 53 Arab countries. So if I learn Arabic, there are 53 places in the world I can go and live the way I live if I master the language and operate the same way I operate here. Because everything, buying and selling, seeking medical attention, seeking police assistance, whatever, socializing is based on your ability to communicate. So the more you're able to communicate in another language, the more and the easier those doors are open for you. Language is important. Language is important. Now, okay. What was next? Anyone? Was that next? It's something before that, I think. Perfecting the language. Huh?
What is a letter? And then I got the characteristics of a letter.
Okay, this is what we're going to do. Everybody number. Let's start. What was the first subject? Put number one next to the first subject.
How do we assess the value of it?
Okay, put number one, how we assess the value of the thing. Number two.
Communication is of types.
Okay, yeah. Humans communicate in 5 ways. That's number two.
I have 3 types of language up with that.
Okay, 3 types of languages. Put that as number 3.
And what is a language?
Number 4, what is a language?
And languages have families
That's number 5. Number 5, languages have families. Number 6, what is a letter? No. Number 7, characteristics of a letter. The 3 characteristics of a letter. The 3 characteristics of a letter. Number 7. Number 8, what is a word? That's it. Okay, so we have 9. We thought we have 8. We have 9. Number 9 is perfecting a language. Yeah, number 10. So we said we had 8. We actually have end up having 10. And number 10, the 6 divisions of vocabulary.
About the Arabic language itself, no consonant points, no silent letters.
Okay, no, that we got into class. That was it. We started. It was, yeah.
Vocabulary.
Of vocabulary. Yeah, that's number 10. The 6 divisions of vocabulary.
You talking about grammar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
General vocabulary. Every word that you need to function in your original language, that's the words you're going to need to learn in your target language. That's the first division. Muhammad. Don't worry about it. They're fine. How old are you, Muhammad?
I'm 11 this year.
Yeah, you need to stay up, sister. Get too big. 10? Yeah, no, you don't need to go get nobody's woman. It's your mother and your sister. It's the only woman you need to be worried about right now. Muhammad. Okay. So next, what is a letter? You can take that, Anissa. So we said a letter is a symbol which represents a sound. This is very important. When we see symbols in language, those symbols represent something, right? The plus sign, that's a symbol that represents what? What does it represent? Exactly. Minus represents. And like that. If we see a rectangle, what does it represent? That's a shape of. What does it represent? Dimension. It represents a dimension. This is language, right? So now, when we see a letter, what is it there for? What is it representing? It's representing the sound. So what the point of development of letters, because every language was spoken first before it was written. Every language was spoken first before it was written. Then the alphabet was created. Why was the alphabet created in the language? Because they wanted to be able to express those sounds to people that weren't there to hear them. So they had to make up symbols or shapes that would represent the sounds that they made. So the process was that the linguists of each language, they looked at the sounds that their people made, no matter through their whole vocabulary that was used at the time. And they said, hold it, so how many sounds do we make when we speak? No matter how long or short the word is, how many sounds? So for instance, in the English language, they said that we make about 26 sounds. So they came up with a shape or a symbol that represented 26 sounds. And they called that the alphabet. The Arab did the same thing. They came up with 28 symbols to represent every sound that they make when they're speaking, and so forth and so on. So this is how letters came about. In order for speech to be expressed without sound. letters came about. And in order for speech to be expressed without sound, because when I write it, I'm not making a sound. But when the person is reading it, even if they don't read it aloud, they are imagining those sounds. They say what? People say about a letter, which is an animate object, doesn't speak. They say, well, what does it say? What does it say? And then the person begins to read out loud, dear so-and-so, and until the end of whatever said, like that. So this is the importance of the letter. So this is the letter. What was that? That did you just mention anything, sir? What did you just mention? So a letter is a symbol that represents a sound, yes. Yeah. Okay, the symbol that represents a sound. What's next on the list? Okay.
3 characteristics.
The 3 characteristics of a letter. These characteristics are important because by them we tell each letter apart. We tell each letter apart by these characteristics. And we give each letter its individuality. What are they? Its name. So each letter has a name. Each letter has a name. Oh, I just want to answer, you can get the next one. Its name. Each letter has a name. So when you hear A, B, that's the name of those shapes. Alif, Ba, Ta, Tha, Jim, Ha, Kha, Dal, Dal, Ra, Zai, Sin, Shin, Sad, Dad. These are the names of those shapes. That's their name. So each letter has a name. Next. Its shape. What's the point of naming the thing that you can't see? You can't see it. What are you going to do with the name of it? Except for the unseen creator of everything that exists. Because you're not supposed to do anything with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when we're talking about learning language, we're talking about creating things. If you have the name of the alphabet, all of the names, but you don't know how they look, what are you going to do when something's written to you? It's not going to make any difference to you how much you memorize the name. So it's important that when you memorize the name, you memorize the shape at the same time. The name, the shape, that's his name. If I said to you, there are 3 brothers coming, Ahmed, Khalid, and Abdullah. I want you to give the eraser to Ahmed, the water to Khalid, and the pen to Abdullah. And I don't tell you how they look. I never describe Ahmed to you. I never describe Khalid to you. I never describe Abdullah to you. Who are you going to give the water, the pen, and the eraser? Exactly. The same thing. If you don't know, if I tell you Alif, Ba, Ta, Tha, and I don't tell you what shape goes with the name Alif, what shape goes with the name Ba, and what shape goes with the name Ta, you may call Alif, Ta, and Ba, Tha, and you're all over the place with it. So now when you memorize the alphabet, each shape gets a name. Alif has a name. Ba has a name. Ta, has a shape. Each name has a shape. So you're going to take that name, put it with that shape. You remember that's him. Where's Alif? You're treated just like a human being. Where's Ahmed? That's Ahmed. Where's Alif? That's Alif. Where's Ba? Where's Abdul Basir? Where's Ba? That's Ba. Right there. Okay. We heard that. You're a witness to Ba breaking names. Could you point them out in this lineup? Put the lineup up, put the alphabet up, and you point at Gene. And then Gene gets locked up. Okay, so that's how it goes. Next thing, it's sound. This is the most important part. And we talked about it before. The reason this is the most important part, because you have people that can speak fluently without knowing how to read or write. So the sound is the most important part. The sound is the most important part. But those who can't read and write have to memorize whole sounds. They don't memorize alphabets. They don't know the alphabet. People that can't read and write don't know the alphabet. They just know words, phrases. That's how they get away. They know words and phrases. So they memorize those words and phrases in their usage. And they know the situations and scenarios that those words and phrases are used in, and they mimic its usage, and this is how they're able to function. All right? So if they would have been, if those shapes would be put in front of them, if those names would have been mentioned. Now, so that's the thing. What's the next thing? What is a word? The next important thing, what is a word? So, what is a word? Specific meaning. Meaning. So, words are a group of letters. So that's number one. So if someone was to bring you a group of numbers, is that a word? A group of shapes. Word? Group of sounds. Word? A group of gestures. Word? No. So a word, we're talking about linguistically. A word is a group of letters brought together to make a specific sound. If that sound isn't made, even if the letters are there, you don't have the word right. If I were to take this group of letters in English, and say, Pahone. 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 Pahone, right?
No,
No?
I wouldn't put that sound.
What's wrong? Pahone.
In English,
What's wrong?
it's
It's in English. I'm not speaking English. I'm not speaking English.
the sound that was taught by.
Pahone. I'm wrong? It's hone. The P is silent. Hone. Huh? He's right?
I don't know.
He's right? So, wait, sorry.
In Arabic,
No, English. I'm trying to speak English.
the English put those together, but in Arabic, every letter has its own sound.
Right. But what I'm trying to say this word in English. I'm not trying to speak Arabic right now. So I'm saying Pahone that's that word. That's what that word says, right? No? Is he right? He said that P is silent, so it's hone.
His language.
In your language?
His language that he used.
Okay. Like you. I want to speak English. Please teach me English. I want to speak English.
Understand the rulings and
So what am I wrong? You agree with them? They're saying I'm wrong. So you all agree that I'm wrong. That's not Pahone.
It looks like it can be pronounced like that.
Right? But according to
Our
the
English
English language, that this word, what does it say?
phone.
Phone. That's the same thing that happens. So a word is a group of letters brought together to make a specific sound. So even if you bring them together, if you don't make the sound that the people of that language agree that those letters come together to make, you don't have a word. You don't have a word. So you can say Pahone, oh yeah, I just got a new Pahone. Say, yeah, well, pony, you got a pony? No, a Pahone. I got a smart Pahone. Okay, let me see your pony. Wait, does it do tricks? You got a smart pony. Does it do tricks? No, it's in my pocket. You got a pony in your pocket? No, not a pony. A pony. This is what happened. And it happens in Arabic. I've run into people. I'm not sorry to say it. I don't want to do that. I don't. What do they call that? Disclaimers. I don't really do disclaimers. I'm not sorry to say it. You have some people that are delusional. They're in the beginning. Please, brothers and sisters, don't become delusional. Brothers and sisters, do not become delusional, meaning they are in the beginning stages. And this is when you can see a person is about to slide in that trapdoor. They're in the beginning stages of learning. The first thing they want to do is start making corrections. Right? I had a student come to me, say, yeah, I was in Egypt and they don't even understand proper Arabic. I was, speaking to them and saying this and that, and they couldn't understand what I was saying. So I asked the student, so what were you saying? And the student began speaking. I was like, I don't understand what you're saying either. Because the person was mispronouncing the word. I'm talking about seriously mispronouncing. Paone. And was upset that they weren't understood and believed. They had so much false confidence. They believed that the problems with all of those Arab-speaking people that they didn't understand Arabic, but they understood. Do not slide in that trapdoor. The trapdoor that we talked about earlier. No. So the same thing is going to happen in Arabic language. We're going to get letters. They're going to come together. They have to make a specific sound. If you do not make the sound that those letters were brought together to make, you're not saying the word, and it's more detrimental when it comes to the Quran. In the first class, we took the difference between ha and ha. Alhamdu and alhamdu. We said alhamdu means the praise, and alhamdu means that. So if a person says alhamdu and then mentions the name of our Lord, he's saying all death belongs to Allah. Instead of all praise belongs to Allah, is due to Allah. That's how serious it becomes. We talked about those words, Sara and Sarah. Sara meaning to become. Sarah meaning to traverse or travel, and like that. Right? And like that. So it's very important. Sabah and subah. Sabah, like praise or glorification, and subah, morning. Morning. Now, so it's very, very, very important that when you see those letters together, that every letter is given the proper sound so that the word can carry the proper meaning. Very important. Now, if I say, for instance, in Arabic, I won't write it because we're not there yet, but in Arabic, I have the word qiyas with a qaf. Qaf, ya, alif, sin, qiyas. And then I have qiyas with a kaf. Kaf, ya, alif, sin. Qiyas means deduction. Qiyas means bags. Bags, qiyas. You can say qiyas means bags. Qiyas, qaf, qiyas, qiyas. One is bags, qiyas means bags, and qiyas means deduction. So that's how you have to know what sound that each letter makes. What is the next thing we said? Mm-hmm. Did we finish with that? What were we on?
Yes. What is a word?
Okay, what is a word? No, so we just wanted to part of the definition. We said it's a group of letters that come together to make a specific sound, carrying a specific meaning. This is very important when it comes to aqidah. Because you have some people saying meanings for a word that the word doesn't carry that meaning. Ar-Rahmanu ala al-arsh istawa. Ar-Rahman ala al-arsh istawa. The most merciful rose over his throne. Istawa. That's what istawa means in the Arabic language. From the offset until Yawm al-Qiyamah, that's what it means. And you have the Mu'tazila, the Ash'a'ira, the Jahmiyyah, said no, it means istawla, conquered. That it never carried that meaning. So it has a specific meaning. And to change it from that meaning without proof is incorrect. And this is what led them away from understanding the Quran properly. Istawla. The reason it can never, just to make this important aqidah point, the reason it istawa, rose over, can never mean istawla, to conquer. Because in order to say Allah Ta'ala conquered something, it would have to have been out of his possession. You conquer something that was not under your dominion before, and then you take control over it. So what in creation that Allah Ta'ala didn't have control over, and then he gained control over later on?
Also associated partners. Opposites.
And weakness, and deficiency, and all types of things. Now, so each word has a specific meaning. specific meaning, especially as it regards Allah's names and attributes. Now, when it comes outside of that, then we have more room. We have more room. Outside of the names and attributes of Allah, we have more room now. We have more playroom to attribute meanings to words based on their original usage. Because the word can have more than one usage. There's a beautiful group of words in the Arabic language, inshallah, and depending on how far we go in our lessons, they're called, and we'll take some of them called al-dad. Al-dad. Hamza, Dad, Del, Alif, Del. Al-dad. These are words, amazing, that they have one word can carry opposite meanings. The meaning that it has and the opposite of that same meaning. It can be its own antonym. The word can be its own antonym. Like, for instance, the word tahajjud. In Surah Al-Isra, Allah said, وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَتَهَجَّدْ بِهِ نَافِلَةً لَكَ. He told the Prophet, and at the nighttime, فَتَهَجَّدْ بِهِ. Make tahajjud with the Quran, نَافِلَةً لَكَ. It will be an extra prayer for you. Right? عَسَىٰ أَن يَبْعَثَ رَبُّكَ مَقَامًا مَحْمُودًا. Perhaps your Lord will raise you to a lofty, praiseworthy station. Right? Tahajjud. The word tahajjud, it's its own antonym. Tahajjud means he stood all night and slept a little. And it also means he slept all night and stood a little. And this is why tahajjud is prayed two ways. You sleep first, and then you wake up in the end, and then you pray. Or you pray first, and then at the end, you go lay down. So tahajjud is both ways. A person can pray tahajjud first, a long period of time. And then a little while before Fajr, the Prophet ﷺ used to do, and then, salam out and go lay down until the Fajr adhan. So your night is short when it comes to sleep. Or a person can sleep until only a part of the night is left, and then what? And then get up and pray the Hajj just a little while, right until right before the adhan Fajr. As Allah explained this on the Muzammil, right? إن ربك يعلم أنك تقوم أدنى من ثلثي الليل أو نصفه أو ثلثه وطائفة من الذين معك والله يقدر الليل والنهار to the end of it. Allah Ta'ala said, and indeed your Lord knows that you stand a little less than ثلثي الليل, 2/3 of the night, أو نصفه, or a half of the night, أو ثلثه, or a third of the night, وطائفة من الذين معك, and a group of those with you. والله يقدر الليل والنهار علم أن لن تحصوه فتاب عليكم فاقرؤوا ما تيسر من القرآن. He said he knows that you are not able to keep count. So read what is easy for you of the Quran. علم أن سيكون منكم مرضى. He knows that there will be from you those who are sick. وآخرون يضربون في الأرض يبتغون من فضل الله. And others who are traveling through the land and doing business, seeking the bounty of Allah. وآخرون يقاتلون في سبيل الله فاقرؤوا ما تيسر منه. And others who are out fighting in the way of Allah. So read that it was easy for you. وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة وأقرضوا الله قرضا حسنا. And establish the salah and pay the zakat. And loan to Allah a beautiful loan. وَمَا تُقَدِّمُوا لِأَنفُسِكُم مِّنْ خَيْرٍ تَجِدُوهُ عِندَ اللَّهِ. And whatever you send forward of good for your souls, you're going to find it. But the point was in the early part, Allah said he knows. You stand 2/3 of the night, or half of the night, or a third of the night, and those with you. So this is Fajr. Now, it's Fajr. So it's al-dad. It has the one word, and it has its own antonym. Tahajjud could mean, somebody said, I prayed tahajjud could mean that. He slept all night and got up and prayed for 10 minutes, and then that was it. It could mean he prayed all night and then lay down and slept 10 minutes. Because he always Hey, now, you know. Now, so a group of words to have a specific meaning. Now, have a specific meaning. So, if someone were to say, عندي تهجد عندي تهجد. He's holding his stomach, he's bent over saying, عندي تهجد, I have tahajjud. You're like, what? I have tahajjud. What does that mean, holding your stomach? Yeah, my stomach hurt. That's not what tahajjud means. That doesn't mean your stomach hurt. What do you mean? I have tahajjud, my stomach is hurting. So he used those words. He said it correctly, but he applied the wrong meaning to it. I'd accept it. It's not accepted. So the sound and the meaning has to be according to the language. The sound in the meaning. So if the sound is off, like we talked earlier, if the sound is off, wrong. If the meaning is off, wrong. So a word, once again, we said, what is a word? A word, it's a group of letters brought together to make a specific sound, carrying a specific meaning. That's what a word is. Okay, next. So we said, in order to protect perfect a language, we need three things. Perfecting a language is based on three fundamentals. Who remember? Mikael. Proper pronunciation. Listen, it goes back to what we're saying about the word. This is the perfection of the language. You have to pronounce it properly from the beginning of the word to the end of a word. If any letter is thrown off in that word, and this happens many times, especially people that are from the subcontinent of India, and they're saying, and even some Egyptians fall into this mistake, pronouncing that dal, when we get to that, we're going to learn this sound. The val is different from the tha. They come from almost the same point of pronunciation, but the tha is the opposite of val. The tha is inhibas, as salt, wajariyan, and nafas. So the tha, it means that you withhold the sound, but you allow the air to flow. F, 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 F. So air is coming, but sound, there's no sound. That's why I said don't say the, don't say the, say. So it's jariyan and nafas were inhibas as salt. So it's to let the air flow, but to restrict sound. The val, when we get to it, we're going to learn that it's inhibas and nafas were jariyan as salt. So it's you hold back the air, but you allow the sound to flow. That's why when in val we say if you switch up on either one, it's going to become the other letter. If you let the air go on the val, it's going to turn into a val. If you say as trying to say ev, what has it become? Became a fa. Became a fa. So the mistake that some of our brothers from the subcontinent make in Egypt is they pronounce the val as a zai, as alazina. They say alazina, alazina. This is not a mode of recitation. This is wrong. Alazina, alazina. This is wrong. It's alladina, 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 alladina. It's not allazina. And also, some of our brothers also mispronounce the va. That's the va. Al-zalimin, the oppressors, the wrongdoers. They say az-zalimin. They pronounce it as a zag. Az-zalimin. Az-zulm. Who was zalim? Wrong. This is incorrect. So, proper pronunciation. And if someone does that while reciting the Quran, they're changing the Quran. And changing the Quran. If they are learning and fixing their mistake, then their prayer is proper for themselves, but they cannot lead anyone else in salah. Someone has, and we're going to talk about this when we get further down the line, al-lahan. Al-lahan means distortion. And we talked about three types of lahan. We said we have lahan al-jari, which is blatant distortion. Like to say al-lazini. This is a blatant distortion, learned or unlearned. This mistake is not acceptable. And then we have hidden lahan al-khafi. Then we have hidden distortion, like an individual that may say, ذَلِكَ الْيَوْمُ الْحَقِّ, and he doesn't do qalqala. So this is a hidden distortion. Now, so this is the correct way to say it. But he doesn't do qalqala, so this is a hidden distortion. You have to study in order to know that you were supposed to make that echo, right? Then you have lahan al-adai. Lahan, this is distortion in performance, meaning the person in reality, technically he's not wrong. Technically, he's not wrong, but conceptually he's wrong. And that's like somebody pronouncing the sod, like this, sod. So that's called lahan adai because you don't have to make that face to say sod. Look, sod, else, sod, Muhammad. Yes, sod, else, as-salihin. So I don't have to mash my face up to say it. As-salihin. Kana rajulun salih. But when I first was learning sod, I was saying sod. And my teachers and my wife would say, no, you don't. Why are you doing that? I said, it's the only way I can say it. I was frustrated. They say, no, you don't have to. I said, but that's because y'all out of, and y'all used to say it, but for me, that's the way I have to say it because of my language. Delusional. You may go through it. I'm trying to tell you these things, not to expose myself, but you can skip this part. This part is not a necessity. So if you can hear anything that I'm saying, as I remember, the teacher said he did this and did that was wrong, I can skip that now. So you don't have to say salt. Nah. Hey, nah. Salt. Yeah, no, like that, yeah.
That's what I learned. I'm looking at like.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, it's just simple. Yeah, because it comes from Shajar al-Lisan. It comes from the bridge of the tongue, so it's just Salih. Salihin. Salih. Kana rajulun salih. Suwaylih. You don't have to mash your face up to say it. So that would be lahan adai. That would be a distortion of performance. The sound is correct, but as they say in English slang, you're doing too much. Right? Okay, so that is that one. Well, we finished with that definition. That was the end of it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, oh no, what are we on now? So we're with Mikael. Okay, so first, proper pronunciation, how you perfect the language. The next is sentence structure. Sentence structure is learned by blindly following those who speak correctly, just like every other language. If somebody comes from another country, gets on the plane, goes to the hood, where people are speaking slang, yo, you know what it do? Then that person, that foreigner is going to speak English like that. You're going to find this guy like, why is he talking like, no, brother, you cannot take that speech to a job interview. What are you saying? You can't go to a job interview. What it do? I'm trying to get down. Right? But what happened? That's what happens when the person, based on the people the person is around. So sentence structure comes from two things, mainly, three things. Two of them are really one and the same. The first way is listening to those who speak properly. Listening to those who speak properly, whether they're in front of you, on a recording, or other than that. Listening to those who speak properly. So if you're learning Arabic, they have hoods in every culture has a hood where the people do not use preferred language. In Arabic, they have hoods that they don't use preferred. Slang. So I'm saying, what you trying to do? They're speaking slang. That's Egyptian slang. Huh? ما قلتش حاجة. مالك؟ أنت صاحي ولا نايم؟ صحيح talk. That's slang. Say you didn't say anything. What's wrong with you? You woke or you sleep? So everywhere has a hood. And every hood has that deep slang, right? So in order to learn sentence structure, you do not want to be learning slang. You don't want it. You want, why? Especially in Arabic, because you want to learn how to understand the Quran. Sometimes you're going to find, if you travel, and hopefully the Muslim world, the Arab Muslim world changes their path before that happens for any of you. But you'll go and you'll speak. I used to do youth counseling in Egypt, outreach work in Egypt. So some of the students were so far, out of children, so far from the correct Arabic language, I would speak to them regular speech. كيف الحال؟ طيب ماذا تريد أن تكون في مستقبلك? What do you want to be in your future? And talking like that. And if I begin speaking quickly and like that, one of them would say, صدق الله العظيم. Thinking I quoted an ayah from the Quran. Because they understand that whoever speaks like that, only the Quran has that kind of Arabic in it. So he must be saying a person. Or if you say a saying, a proverb, like لا تكن كشمعة تنير لغيرك وتحرق نفسك, one of the sayings, the Arab sayings. So say that, صدق رسول الله. The Prophet spoke. Like that's not hadith. They think it's hadith because it's in Fusha, because it's correct. That's how far off. And just to give you a little history, the war in Egypt against the Arabic language started in 1802. 1802, by someone that was a part, an Englishman, as part of the British colonialists that were in Egypt at the time. And they tried to come up with a way to erase the Arabic language from Egypt. And they called it Lughatul Tahira, the language of Cairo. And they wanted it to be written with Latin letters, the letters of the English, Spanish, and French alphabet. And they tried to do that in order to what? Strip the Muslims of the language of the Quran. And then the Muslims, said, no, they're trying to take away the language of the Quran, and they paid attention to what was going on. And then later on, it came, I believe in 1904, they came back with that same intention. No, it was the end of the 1800s to 1888 or 1886. They came and they tried it again, but it picked up a little momentum from the Arab Christians who were involved in the Arabic League during that time, so they accepted it. So that language, that slang, began to be being used in plays and in music. In plays and in music. And if you want to know how to corrupt the people, you do it through the language of entertainment. So it's the same propaganda. So they use entertainment in order to push this language out into public speech. The people spoke Arabic, Fusha. The book that we studied in Azhar and university level, Alfiyat ibn Malik, Alfiyah, that was taught on the junior high school level in Egypt. Now it's not taught until college. This is how sharp that the Muslims were in the Arabic language. This is a 1,000-line Arabic poem and grammar. It used to be taught on the beginning of the junior high school level. Now it's not taught until college. They only get in high school till college. Qatr al-Nadar, which is another Arabic written by Ibn Hisham, used to be taught in Ibtida'i, in elementary school. Now it's not taught until high school. This is how far off, through slang, the Muslims have been pushed away from the correct Arabic language, which gives us the correct understanding. That's why I tell the Muslims in the khutbah, in their classes, you must be, O Muslims, intentional. We must live with intentions. Because everybody else, what they're doing, whether it be evil or good, they're very intentional what they're doing. Don't think that the things that are happening in the world and in the Muslim world are by mistake, haphazard. No, this is long intention. And they say, oh, conspiracy theories. When has conspiracy become a theory? Conspiracy has always been reality. Conspiracy theory. Conspiracy is not a theory. Man was assassinated. In reality or in theory? They conspired in order to assassinate him. Was it a theory or reality? Umar was killed before Uthman based on a conspiracy or a theory? Musaylama al-Kadhdab, the false prophet, he came and set up Banu Hanifa and claimed prophecy after the death of the Prophet ﷺ. Was that a conspiracy? Was that a theory or reality? Ali was killed. Theory or reality? Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, John F. Kennedy, conspiracy or reality? So how's it a theory? We got bodies piled up, but it's a theory. You're paranoid. All these dead bodies, I'm not supposed to be paranoid. Okay, so they conspired against the Arabic language. Finally, it took off and it was used into entertainment, and to the point that you're going to go to every Arab land and you're going to find some kind of slang that has nothing to do with correct Arabic. You're going to have to reject it and refuse it. You're going to have to reject it and refuse to say, no, I want to speak Arabic. They say, they asked me, Egypt, well, why don't you speak? They say, well, you can understand. They said, at the top of Muslim, did you understand Egyptian? I said, what is Egyptian? I understand Arabic. No, but you know, the way we speak. I said, I understand. They said, well, why don't you speak it to us? I said, because it's not your language. The colonizers gave that to you. If it was a dialect that you guys came up with that came from the original, I had no problem with it. I know how to, so to speak, let my hair down and, you know, chill out. I know how to chill out. I would chill, but I'm not chilling on colonialism. Right? And like that. Now, okay. So sentence structure is learned from what? Sentence structure is learned from listening to those who speak properly, whether it be live or other than that, and also by reading, because there's no book, and I don't know now in America if it's been done, but I know no matter where you go in the world, if their language is a written and spoken language, and it has colloquial and it has slang, there's no book written in slang. There's no book. That's why people try to tell me, well, you should still speak slang to the natives because they don't understand when you speak a Fusha. I said, no, it's a lie. If they go to school. Yeah, they went to school. I said, show me one book written in slang. Because if they weren't taught in slang, it means they understand the correct Arabic because that's what they got when they went to school. Just like any American English speaker who went through school, don't tell me he doesn't understand. How are you doing? Could you address the group and let understand proper English? That now all of a sudden, oh, you have to try to reach the youth. So now I have to act a fool, act like I'm not good. So I got to come and be a yo boy in order for the youth to understand me. No. I'm not of the theory that in order to understand how to deal with animals, you have to begin acting like wildlife. Okay, I'm going to act like a chimpanzee. Why? Because we're going to bring in chimpanzees. Now I got to act like a lion because we're bringing. You know, even my mother, rahimahullah ta'ala, she used to prohibit in our house dealing with the infants, babies. We say to the baby, boo, 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 boo. She said, no, don't do that. Don't do that. He said, why? He said, we just have a baby. Like, no, that child is trying to speak like you. They're trying to say what you're saying. So now you're going to talk like him. So you're going to learn from him or he's going to learn from you. She rejected baby talk. No, speak to the child. And she said, what? And all of us spoke early because she would have conversations with us like adults. How are you today? Are you okay? You're crying because you're wet or because you're hungry? Let me check your pamper. Speech. It affects the psychology of the child. Psychology of the child, sidebar benefit, right? Okay. So if you want to learn proper sentence structure, read and listen to those who speak proper. It's no different than in English also. Sad to say, when you speak properly and you're around people who have chosen not to speak properly, just like they say in English, sad, I hate to say it, I don't hate to say it, but sad to say, I do mean that. Sad to say, you're speaking white. Why are you speaking like you're black and white? Because I'm speaking properly. You know what that says in reverse about yourself? You're not white. I have those kind of conversations just to let y'all know. I don't avoid those kind of conversations. So, oh, you're speaking white. What's speaking white? Language has a color now. Language has a color now. Doesn't. But the argument has foundation. Why? Where you think, why did the term of speaking white, where did it come from? It came from it being against the law in America at one point in time for blacks to learn to read or write and speak properly? Where did slang come from? Why do black Americans speak that slang and like that? Because they weren't allowed to learn to speak. It was against the law. You could be killed. And do your research. The law was never abolished. They just stopped enforcing it. I was doing a program in Maryland for youth, but COVID shut it down, called A Right to Read and a Right to Write for the youth. And in the program, I decided to do a research before introducing the program to the youth. And it was, I said, well, because African Americans were prohibited to read and write at one point, they should be the most avid readers and the most prolific writers. Because anyone that was prevented from a thing that is good, as soon as they get access to it, they should go crazy, right? So I wanted to introduce this program. So I wanted to expose the states that had the law of it being against the law to what? Read and write, like North Carolina, West Virginia, like that. When I did my research, I found out that the law was still active, hadn't been abolished, it just was not enforced, just like jaywalking. You know it's the law, right? You know you really can be stopped and go and be fined for jaywalking. It's just not enforced. So the law against Black Americans reading is still in the books. It's just not enforced. Be careful. Be careful. So reading, point being, reading is very, very important. Because, like I said, there's no book written in slang. And the last thing, vocabulary is the last thing we went through. Vocabulary is very important. Right? And what did we say about vocabulary? Oh, no, that was it for that. Vocabulary. What was the next subject? So after that, we went over the 6 divisions of vocabulary. What's the first division? General vocabulary, as we said. Every word that you need to function properly in your original language, they are the words you're going to need to function in your target language, because everybody in the world has the same needs and necessities. Their wants, their luxuries may differ, but their needs and necessities are the same worldwide: food, clothing, shelter, drink, medical care, transportation, safety, security. Worldwide. Yes, sir. Worldwide. So whatever you need to grasp all of those things in your language, you need the same words to grasp all of those things in your target language. What was next?
Words with meaning.
Then we said words with meaning. Words with meaning, we said, are those words that when you hear them, you automatically know what is intended or what the purpose of that word is, like eraser. If I say eraser, you know what I'm saying? What do you mean eraser? No, okay, what about the eraser? Okay, I understand what eraser is, but what about it, right? But you know what the eraser means. Next.
Tool words.
Tool words. Tool words are words that sometimes I use the phrase words without meaning. People may say, no, every word has a meaning. However, there are words that don't have a meaning, meaning that you never know what is intended by the word until it is put with other than it. Like to, not the number, the direction is one of the meanings of it anyway. So if I say to, which is a preposition, to where? To who? Like that. So this word is a tool. It's used to connect thoughts, phrases, and expressions to the store, to sleep, to you, to me, to them, right? To the moon. Never made it. Okay, to, from, in, out, over. All of these words, these are tool words. And, or, therefore, furthermore, the conjunctions, and we need to call them pronouns, whether it be possessive or personal, like that. These are all what? Tool words. That these words are necessary to connect thoughts, expressions, phrases, and other than that.
And you also mentioned that without them, the language couldn't be spoken.
Exactly. And without tool words, you cannot use the language. Imagine trying to speak in a way that's understood without and or, therefore, to, from, over, under, next to. Take all of that out. He, she, it, they, them. Take them all out and then talk to them. Huh? Go ahead.
My mom said, my mom said, you have,
Huh?
my mom said, you go to your
No,
car.
you said two.
Go to. Yeah. You could have did it. You could have done it though. Right? You could have said, my mom said hi. But it's not much you're going to be able to say. No, not much you're going to say. Okay, next. Specific vocabulary. Specific vocabulary, this is the vocabulary you're not blameworthy for not knowing the specific type of vocabulary that has nothing to do with your life. So specific vocabulary are the terminologies that are restricted to certain fields of study and work. For instance, the medical field, they have a specific vocabulary in medicine. Jargon, exactly. Legally, they have specific vocabulary terminologies, legal terms, legal jargon. A mechanic, and this is why I say you're not blameworthy for not knowing that. You can take, and we use the example of a doctor, PhD, a brain surgeon, right, a neurologist. He has this deep vocabulary of the brain and the veins and the thought and like that. And he's, as long as he's in the hospital, he's the man. But something happens to his car. He has a guy that never got an education. He opens up that hood and he starts talking about the hoses and the spark plugs and the doctor's like, right? So now they're equal, right? He's the man in his office, he's the man in his office. So that's specific vocabulary. Vocabulary that's restricted to a specific field or profession. Now, active vocabulary. We spoke about active vocabulary. We said active vocabulary are those words that come from your mind to your tongue as soon as you need them. That's what causes fluency. How do you become fluent? You have words that you use so much that whenever you need them, it goes from here. Assalamu alaikum. You can be fluent in Arabic. Why? That's an active phrase that you have. You automatically know. The more phrases that you memorize and you know when to use them, the occasion to use them in, your response in Arabic will be the same based on how many phrases you know how to use. Barakallahu feek. Huh? Well, yeah. So based on how many phrases, now this is the cheat code. This is the cheat. How many phrases that you know, situational phrases that you know the use of, is going to open up your ability of fluency in the Arabic language. The more phrases you know to use in a situation, and the more situational phrases you know, when a statement is said to you in a situation, you're going to respond with the proper phrase. Just that simple. You're going to respond. And this is the best method for people who are learning language outside of the environment of the language, rather than taking word by word. Take whole phrases. We took A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and then we took tools. You're going to see later on what I'm doing. We're building something. We're building something. Right now, inshallah, I got you guys like the Karate Kid. You probably don't understand. What is he doing? Wax on, wax off. Teacher, what is he doing? He got us washing his car. Stop. You're not just washing the car. Inshallah, later on, you're going to be able to use them like that. And you're going to know when and how to use them. So we're building up our toolbox. We're building up our toolbox for our mental dictionary. We need a mental dictionary. So that's what we're building. Now, so inactive vocabulary. Inactive vocabulary are those, even in your own language, are those words that you do not use much. So then when you're put in a situation where you need to use that word, you begin, as they say in English grammar, honing and honing. You're going to say, that's what happens when you run into that. It means that your vocabulary is inactive. You do not have, you're inconsistent in your usage. If you don't use it, you lose, right? So now you have to put yourself in a position where these phrases that you're learning are being used. are being used. So whether you have to go around where Arabs are when we begin taking these words and just use them for a reason or for no reason. If you're not willing, especially with language, if you're not willing to be embarrassed and put on the spot, you're not going to be able to speak. You may learn enough to be able to read, to be able to write, but you'll never be able to speak. You have to be put in a position to get embarrassed. I'm talking about the embarrassment that you start sweating, sweat that people can't see in your underarms start itching. You know what I'm talking about. Like, oh, you wish you could disappear. Like, exactly, going to high seat. You have to be able to accept that embarrassment. People are going to laugh. You know, when I first went over, when I went, not in Yemen, but in Egypt, I was in classes with children, Quran classes with children. And I was mispronouncing things and they were laughing. And my children were in school at children's age, and they were laughing. And some of the children would laugh and say that again. And say it again to the other kids like that. So they asked me to repeat it and make a straight face. I knew what they were doing. I know they were bidding off me, right? And so I knew they were making fun, but I wanted to practice. So I did it anyway. Say what you said again, and I would repeat the word like that. They say, you know, no, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, uncle. They say, uncle. Oh, we're sorry. We didn't mean anything by it. Right. Say it again. Then one of them will be kind enough to say, no, you have to say like that. And then say it. And I went through with my children, but my children picked up quicker than me. So they said, no, Abby, what did you say? No, you mean to say this, you mean to say that. So you have to be willing to be embarrassed. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable. You have to be willing until you get to the point of being comfortable. Until you get to the point of being comfortable. Now, some of those same youth that used to laugh at me, mashallah, and after I learned Arabic, I was teaching them grammar. You remember. Now, what is the meaning of a noun? Linguistically and grammatically, what is the meaning of a noun? It's no fun. No, I'm not going to laugh at that. But that's what happens. Yeah. Now, so this is not a bragging point. I'm sitting here in front of you, flesh and blood, regular. I'm just a regular person, right? My original language is English. Grew up speaking English. I didn't grow up speaking Arabic. I learned it through years of patience and memorizing words. You have to be willing to do. If you look at it, I used to rap back in the day, right? One time I saw popped up on YouTube that a rapper that I used to listen to when I was young, Big Daddy Kane, is making another album. He's like 60. He's like 60. When I saw that, I reached out to some brothers around my age that was listening to the same music. And I said, come on, man. These guys are still at it. At 60, writing raps. 60. Popping at 60. And you're saying, guys, 40, 45 years old, talking about, man, I'm too old, man. You know, alhamdulillah, I wish I would have. How? The prophet didn't receive revelation until he was 40. Didn't receive revelation until he was 40. How are you too old? How? So age, no. Age, no. It's not an issue. Older, younger, if you're serious and you make the intention and you want this, you can get it. You can get it. It's a man in Egypt, one of my neighbors, 55 years old. He was wild his whole life. And then when he got 55, Allahu A'lam, what happened to him? He said, I have done nothing for myself concerning my religion. He began coming to the salat in the masjid in the neighborhood regularly. He began sitting in the children's classes of Quran, memorizing Quran. He's already an Arab, he's Egyptian. So he began memorizing the Quran with the sheikh and getting corrected. He had those, Egyptians have certain letters that they pronounce wrong. So he began getting that, the jim and the qaf and like that. So he began getting all of that situated and like that and memorizing the Quran. So it took him a while. He would do one ayat a day. Allah extended his life. So he became a hafiz. He was 80 or 82 when he became hafiz of Quran. He took one ayat a day. When that man leaves the salat, he lives in a place in Egypt called Shat al-Nakhil, Palm Beach. It's a place in Alexandria, Egypt. When he leaves Tarawih, and indeed, I don't know if he's still alive, but when he was alive, if he's alive, he leads the salah, and because he took one ayat a day, and by the way, 6,200 ayat, if a person memorizes one ayat a day of Quran memorization, he'll finish the Quran in 17 years. 17 years. So he took one ayat a day. Finished the Quran, he started at 55, at 80. So it took him some time. Some days you're going to be sick, tired, not feel like it, whatever. So at 80 something, he became half the Quran. Started leading Taraweeh. Not like us, regular guys. You'll never have to correct him. You'll never have to remind him or anything. It's like, in fact, he just flows. You could just, you know what I mean, you shouldn't do it. You could just look at your, I wouldn't say close your eyes. You could just look at your spot of sujood and just ride with him. He's going to just ride with him. He's gone. He's gone. And have some legs on him because he doesn't want to stop. He's going to go. He's going to go. All that recite maybe 3 pages, half a juz, and all of that people are saying, he's going to go. If you're not at least ready to stand for a juz, go to another masjid. Because he's not 80-something years old, he's not stopping. He's not stopping. He took his time one ayat a day. And he did it in the way of Toba for 55 years that he didn't do anything. And look where the Lord got him in. Now he's leading the Salat all over. Now, so these are living, breathing people, just regular people. It's not a special class of people that does these things. These are me and you. It's regular people. Just born in West Philadelphia, raised in Southwest Philadelphia. Regular person. Went to Anna Howard Shaw Middle School. Went to Pastorius and Harrington Elementary School. These are places that's right on Google Maps. Not from another planet. It can be done. It can be done. Don't think it's something special. Don't think it's something, it's something special for you to get it and do it, but meaning something special is beyond your ability, beyond your achievement. Right? My first language is English. My children, their first language is Arabic. My children have to take ESL. English as a second language. They don't speak English. Right? They're learning. Speak English with the little that they know, they speak with an accent. When they try to say, how are you? They have they speak with them like that. So yeah. Yes. It's possible. And it's not too late. It's not too late. Now. Next. Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
That's it. So that was the 6th.
That was the 6th?
And then we went to class.
Okay, so that is our review. The 6, I thought we had something else that we had 10 things. You guys
that was the 10th one.
That was the 10th one? Okay, alhamdulillah. So this is what we took. This is our complete review. Remember, the style of our class is going to be lesson and review, review. Monday, lesson. Tuesday, lesson and review. Wednesday, lesson and review. Thursday, lesson and review. Fridays, review only. I really appreciate you all coming out, having trust in your brother to disseminate correct information. I apologize if sometimes this class was meant to be long, but and other than this class, sometimes I can, as they say, be long-winded, but it's so much that I want to convey in such a short amount of time because I don't know how long I'm going to be here, literally and figuratively. Literally is I don't know when I'm going to die. Figuratively, I don't live in, I live in Africa. I don't live in America. I'm a visitor. I'm going back to Africa. Okay? So literally and figuratively, I don't know how long I'm going to be here. So I want to give as much as I can before this visit is over. As much as I can. And sometimes I try to express that in one lump. Inshallah ta'ala, I will make smaller portions or try my best to give you guys smaller portions to make it more palatable and easier to digest. But time is not on our side. Time is not on our side. Any questions about anything that was said? Okay, we'll stop here. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت وأستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Another point I wanted to make, I made this point to Brother Abdul Haq, for anyone else. anything that I say publicly, you can record without my permission because it's public. So you don't need to seek my permission for those who maybe want to record and take notes or like that. You want to write it down, record it with your phone, anything I say that in public is public. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.